are no signs that Iran is ready to stop fighting. So what is the plan? Is the plan to just keep bombing until they give up?
There are no signs. Well, do you know something that I don't know?
Well, they continue to attack our allies and
You
kill
don't know
Americans.
what the dialogue is behind the scenes, that they want to meet desperately to try and end it because they're getting decimated. You don't get that when you listen to your fake station, but you don't know. You don't know anything.
So talks are
you know
still
something that I don't know? Do you know something I don't know?
Well, tell us.
I will tell you, they want to desperately meet, and until they're ready to meet in a meaningful way, we have no interest.
When a president openly threatens to strike another country's nuclear facilities while dismissing tough questions from reporters, that's a moment every American should pay attention to. What we're seeing isn't just another foreign policy headline. It's a major escalation with potentially enormous consequences. As tensions with Iran continue to rise, the public deserves clear answers about the strategy, the risks, and where all of this could lead. That's exactly what we're breaking down today. If you believe the path forward is built on progress, accountability, and truth, hit that subscribe button and join our growing community. Now let's get into it.
About President Trump's testy exchange with White House correspondent for ABC News, Mary Bruce, yesterday. Welcome back to Morning Joe on this Wednesday, July 22nd. I'm Jonathan Lemire. Former Senator Claire McCaskill is still with us. And the United States and Iran exchanged fire overnight for the 11th straight night. U.S. Central Command said targets included aircraft hangars and drone storage sites as Iran retaliated with attacks on U.S. bases in Bahrain, Jordan, and Kuwait. The latest strikes come as President Trump signaled that the fighting may only intensify. Speaking to reporters in the Oval Office yesterday, Trump said the U.S. is prepared to hit the area Pickaxe Mountain, a fortified underground site near one of Iran's primary nuclear enrichment facilities.
Do you believe that Iran has moved nuclear centrifuges into Pickaxe Mountain? And when you say we're not done yet, what is left to finish?
Well, I think that they may have. We don't have it on record. All we do is read the fake news. You know, we see the news is so wrong so many times. So, maybe this one they have right, but it's okay. It doesn't mean anything unless they have the material. You're talking about the centrifuges. Yeah, it doesn't mean anything unless they have the material. They don't have. We follow the material. That's where the action is, and we'll be hitting that area probably pretty soon. And there's not a thing they can do about it. Normally I wouldn't say that. If I thought they could do something about it, I would never say that. But we'll be hitting that area pretty soon, and very heavily.
This threat comes after the Wall Street Journal reported that the U.S. received intelligence from Israel indicating that Iran moved thousands of uranium enrichment centrifuges to the Pickaxe Mountain site last fall. Trump yesterday also threatened military action against the Iran-backed Houthi group as he continues to suggest a willingness to escalate.
What is your level of concern of a blockade of the Red Sea by the Houthi rebels, opening up another front in the war?
What happens? So far, it hasn't happened. It might happen. But we take care of things. If something like that happens, we take care of it. We've done that with the Houthis before, and we haven't heard from them in a while since we did what we did originally. That was about 45 days of very powerful action we took against the Houthis. And we've had no problem with the Houthis. They've had no problem with us for a long period of time, including during this conflict. I think that if there is something like that, we'll just have to take care of business.
Meanwhile, administration officials tell the Journal that President Trump has formally approved an agreement with Saudi Arabia that will provide that country with a civilian nuclear program and potentially open the door to uranium enrichment in the kingdom's territory. The deal is estimated to be worth tens of billions of dollars, designed to give American companies a central role in developing Saudi Arabia's nuclear infrastructure. The plan will be submitted to Congress for review, where it's likely to be met with some real skepticism from some lawmakers who fear the spread of nuclear technology in the Middle East. But it will be difficult to block, requiring a veto-proof majority to override it. Hard to see, though, how that helps peace and stability in the region, as Saudi has said if Iran develops a nuclear weapon, they will too. And that all comes as Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth was on Capitol Hill yesterday, testifying before the Senate Appropriations Committee, seeking tens of billions of additional dollars to fund the war in Iran. Hegseth estimated the war has cost $37.5 billion so far, which is about a $12 billion increase from the estimate he gave in late April. Some Democrats say that number is low. The defense secretary also argued that supplemental war funding is urgent and necessary, but over the course of nearly 3 hours, lawmakers grilled Hegseth about the ballooning cost of the conflict and the administration's rhetoric throughout this war.
When you say two very different things, the American people don't know who to believe or what to believe. Was it obliterated or wasn't it? What's the status?
The nuclear sites under Midnight Hammer were obliterated, but Iranians foolishly continued to attempt to pursue nuclear capabilities, which is why we destroyed their defense industrial base.
So why are there missiles left to hit Jordan and result in the loss of life of our brave men and women?
As we stated from the beginning, the Iranian defense industrial base is effectively gone, but they do have underground facilities because they're the world's leading state sponsor of terrorism.
The Strait of Hormuz is still closed, reminding everybody it was open before the war. Prices were lower for everybody until the war. And of course, tragically, people, service members, our warfighters who we care deeply about, are still dying.
I think your characterization of this incredible effort as a failure is reckless. Shame on you and others who call this a quagmire and a failure, and then you want to turn around and say you support the warfighter. Either you do or you don't.
Secretary Hegseth, if you listen to my comments, you would have heard me say how amazing our warfighters are.
I heard failure. And the word heard, I heard exactly what you said.
I will tell you how I use the word failure, because I use the word failure to their leaders. You, sir, are the failure, not the men and women who are on that front line, not the men and women who hold up their honor with distinction. But if there's a lack of a winning strategy, they're in harm's way. Their leaders have failed them.
Claire, certainly we're used to the bravado from Secretary Hegseth, but it comes here at an important moment where the costs of this war are really rising in terms of expense, munitions, American lives. We've seen more service members killed in recent days, and at a moment where the Trump administration seemingly has no way out.
Yeah, and people need to keep focused on the fact that there has been a dramatic increase in funding to the Department of Defense under this administration. The funding for last year was up to right around $1 trillion. They're now asking for a 50% increase to $1.5 trillion. And the war costs, I think it's fair to estimate these war costs are going to approach $100 billion before it's all said and done, maybe even more, depending on how long it goes on. And here's the dirty little secret, Jonathan. The majority of members of Congress know Hegseth is not competent. The majority of the members of Congress know he is not the right guy. The Republicans sitting on that Appropriations Committee and sitting on the Armed Services Committee know that he is reckless, that he is an ideologue, that he is harming. I mean, him using the blame Biden all day yesterday. Blame Biden, blame Biden. Even John Kennedy was frustrated with the lack of clear answers from this guy. The nerve he has to criticize Austin when he has done so many things to undermine the incredible leadership of our military. It is really disgusting. And, I shame on those Republicans that put him across the finish line. And a couple of them knew better, did it.
Claire McCaskill, thank you as always. We appreciate you joining us this morning. Let's bring in MS Now international reporter Inez de la Cuetara, who joins us live from London. Inez, you've been watching the role that Secretary Rubio has been playing here. You know, he is, for a while, also had a real focus on the Western Hemisphere. We've seen him release a lot of accusatory documents about the regime in Cuba in recent days, as this administration tries to juggle all sorts of global hotspots, and the one in Iran just simply won't cool down.
Yeah, that's right, Sean. And, just off the top, you mentioned the Saudi deal. That is going to be something to watch. That's huge news. If Saudi is now able to enrich uranium, it's going to have a huge impact on the balance of power in the region. And it's certainly not going to help with resolving the war in Iran. The Iranians are going to point to the Saudis and say that they also want to be able to enrich uranium. So I think that's one to watch today. But yes, the strike's very much ongoing. The U.S. has now been striking Iran for 11 days straight. And of course, the fear is that it's going to continue. President Trump threatening to bomb an Iranian nuclear site buried deep underground known as Pickaxe Mountain. There's a lot we don't know about Pickaxe Mountain. We understand it is still under construction, that it's being developed south of the Natanz nuclear site that we thought had been obliterated during the 12-day war. And it is believed to be deep underground, potentially out of reach of U.S. bombs. Experts believe it's a site that could be used to enrich uranium, which of course the Iranians would need if they were to develop a nuclear bomb. Now, Iran has been responding by targeting U.S. bases across the region. So in Kuwait, in Bahrain, in Jordan. Today, Jordan's military said it intercepted 4 missiles from the Iranians. 2 others fell in uninhabited areas. And Iran, of course, continuing to attack tankers in the Strait of Hormuz. You mentioned Secretary Rubio. We do know that diplomatic efforts are still underway in Pakistan to try and salvage some sort of deal. President Trump said yesterday that the U.S. has no interest in meeting with the Iranians. And Secretary of State Marco Rubio did just moments ago talk about Iran. He said the U.S. would continue to attack Iran as long as it tries to exercise control over the Strait of Hormuz. He did leave the door open for diplomacy, but he says Iran at the moment is not serious about the talks.
MS Now international reporter Inez de la Cuetera reporting live from London. Inez, thank you so much.
At the end of the day, this isn't just about Donald Trump or Iran. It's about whether leaders are willing to answer difficult questions before conflicts become even more costly in lives and resources. Democracy works best when journalists keep asking tough questions, citizens stay informed, and those in power are held accountable for their decisions. Whatever your political views, transparency should never be optional when the stakes are this high. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the video. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.